we might finally know for sure what Arthur's turn to villainy or just chaotic evil really is. And while it is obvious to a lot of people that this was most likely the case once the series began, as there were somewhat hints of it, I was a bit of a detractor, hoping that this possibility would not be the case, or at least would not be the entire truth. And while I still hold true to that belief, the idea of Arthur being nudged into the direction that he's in by an influence of someone else seems more and more likely with every couple of arcs, and ever since chapter 206, it has been incredibly obvious as to who or what is responsible for the heel turn, essentially, of Arthur to become a villain. And if the title and thumbnail haven't spoiled it for you already somehow, I am talking about Cath, the chaos creature that was created in basically the starting of the Seven Deadly Sins universe that plotted to steal the power of chaos. Originally was sealed, and when unsealed, plotted its way so it could end up devouring Arthur when he unlocked the power of chaos to get it for himself. And while we all agree that the final arc of Seven Deadly Sins, the quote-unquote chaos arc, was kind of out of nowhere with barely any build-up, with a very lackluster final villain as Cath. Now, the fact that this led into the creation of Weaponizing the Apocalypse and is being answered and fully fleshed out now with how Chaos works with this new cast of characters, and giving Arthur more spotlight, even in a villain role, is something that I think we can all grow to appreciate. But Cath being the reason Arthur is the villain was something many have struggled with when that information came out, with Arthur being the villain at the beginning of Weaponizing the Apocalypse. We all figured it to be some sort of misunderstanding, similar to how the Seven Deadly Sins manga began. But no, we quickly learned that Arthur was evil. He was plotting to create a world where only humans existed. We saw him take land from Britannia to bring it into Camelot, turning actual fairies, demons, goddesses, giants, other races into these amalgamated chaos monstrosities to do his bidding, brainwashing people, transforming people who did not do his bidding. He is true chaotic evil, all for the sake of his ideals that have been warped over the years. And I'm going to get into how we see Cath is influencing Arthur, the evidence behind it, and how Cath influencing Arthur might not be the kind of lazy way of Arthur being turned evil that I originally thought it would be. Before we jump into this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to see more of me, go and check out my manga podcast, Shonen Pulse, on the Panel Focus YouTube channel, where me, Nox, Yantogami, and Papa Trafe talk about 9 manga from 3 different magazines. We have a lot of fun over there with really good in-depth discussions with all the series they cover over there. It's a lot of fun. You guys will definitely enjoy the discussions. Link to the channel will be in the description down below. We have a new episode every single week. And while you're in the descriptions, go and check out the link to my second channel, GW Comics, where I talk about comic books. It's a passion project of mine. Right now I'm going to be a bit DC focused, as it needs a lot more love now, and I am reading some other books outside of everything I'm covering right here on the channel for future videos on there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I would appreciate if you guys go and check it out whenever you have the chance. Now, let's get into the video. So, like I said at the beginning, I originally thought that Arthur being influenced to go evil or go this route by Cath in his subconscious after absorbing him at the end of Seven Deadly Sins to fully unify the power of chaos in one within him would be kind of the lazy way out. With how Weaponizing the Apocalypse has been built up, Arthur has faced, from not only the Holy War and Seven Deadly Sins, but also the Cursed by Light movie, the detriment, the fallout of the Holy War, of his kingdom and people being destroyed and suffering from the battle between all the other races, with humans pretty obviously getting cut in the middle of it, whether it had been 3,000 years ago or in the present day of Seven Deadly Sins. Arthur, despite being a good person, realized and saw the destruction his kingdom wrought. There were some survivors, obviously, but he saw the destruction, and as he made graves for every one of his citizens, and eventually did get attacked by mind-controlled fairies and giants thanks to the goddess race controlling Dubs and Dahlia in Cursed by Light, this might have been the first real step of Arthur seeing that he cannot create a Camelot where humans can live in peace with all this, well, chaos of the other races around. And so began his plan to create Camelot, a safe extra-dimensional place where humans can live without fear of getting dragged into other holy wars, protected by himself, the King of Chaos. And that bit of information about the world is the first nick in his armor that would allow Cath's true dark intents to slowly corrupt him with the power of chaos, and basically making so that Arthur couldn't truly control it 100%. Now, in terms of Cath being still present within Arthur, even if it's not a fully true manipulation, there are signs and images of Cath throughout Arthur's appearances. Primarily, his first real one, if we really look into it, when he descends the skies on the staircase he created to enter Leonis. His right arm gauntlet that he created to kind of make a artificial arm. It has a crest that looks like a cat, and the blade that he carries on the hilt towards the end, the blunt end of the sword, has a little ball that almost looks like Cath when he was in his little tiny cat head form that he had when he was introduced. But that isn't the only piece of evidence, as we had, well, some very, very obvious and in-your-face evidence that, I'm not gonna lie, I am very, very ashamed that I did not catch this when I was doing the chapter review, but in chapter 206, yes, we're going to chapter 206, if it wasn't clear, we're spoiling up to the current arc in the manga, we see Arthur communicate to Lancelot through the Four Perils with the chaos that he implanted within them. And within all these chaos-looking creatures morphing on one side of this clone Arthur head that was created from this extra piece of chaos, we see all the way at the bottom a peek of Cath with the cat head at the very bottom. But that's not the only thing. In the exact same chapter, only 2 pages later, we see as Arthur's clone was dealt a heavy blow and disappearing to reunite with the real Arthur, taking the Four Perils with him, we see in this spiral on the right side an image that looks just like Cath when he was in his final form at the end of Seven Deadly Sins. The demonic, chaotic cat monster that wanted to devour Arthur. There it is, plain as day, right in that spiral as Arthur disappeared. And this was the most obvious indication that Cath is still present within Arthur. Now, the real reason as to how Cath is manipulating Arthur still lies in Arthur's cracks in his own psyche and sense of justice and morality. Because, as I've said multiple times throughout my read-throughs of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, Arthur changed due to his change in worldview, through the trauma, the pressure, and the harsh darkness of the world crushing his very hopeful ideals. Even with the hopeful ending of Seven Deadly Sins, Arthur was faced with cruel reality. Camelot was destroyed in the fight against the Demon King. Many, if not majority of his citizens, lost their lives. And even then, people in the surrounding towns, as we learned at the beginning of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, like when we saw Ardberg in the Dolph Lair arc, lost his daughter due to the, well, crossfire of the Holy War, getting caught within the fighting and losing all that's precious to him. And that's how a lot of citizens, primarily humans, felt during the Holy War that weren't fighters. They lost people they cared about. They lost so much. And that is where Arthur, throughout this time skip of 18 years, began to change. Cath's thirst for power, but also dark impulses, were slowly corrupting Arthur, because Cath never died. He was absorbed by Arthur. He was devoured by Arthur. But since Cath was also merged with chaos, by extension, Cath would just be absorbed into Arthur's own psyche and power, but suppressed deep, deep down. And by having all this darkness in the world, that Arthur slowly having to deal with this harsh reality and, well, the despair of facing all this loss that him and his citizens have faced, and wanting to create an everlasting kingdom where people can live happily, and even bringing back people's loved ones with the full extent of his chaos powers, his grip on his morality slips. The cracks begin to show, and Cath's impulses corrupt Arthur. What was left in his dark, dark subconscious that his hopeful ideals of control kept locked away, Cath's influence begins to seep into Arthur. Arthur giving up his humanity for the most part, becoming mostly chaos instead of human, his view of morality is skewed towards the more chaotic, wiping out the other races so he can basically complete his initial goal of the everlasting kingdom and making a better world for humans. But in doing so, he'd also have to take out children and bystanders and non-combatants from the giants, fairies, goddesses, and the demons as well, just for the sheer fact that they are what they are. And as a way to either get rid of them or use them to better Camelot, he came up with the idea of the Chaos Staves. Now, whether this was his own idea, Cath's subconscious influencing him to create them, or perhaps Worldane giving him the idea to gift chaos in these staff form so anybody can use this power against others, we don't know. But we do know that Arthur has basically been weaponizing his chaos to basically take out his basic vengeance and frustrations on Britannia. And even though he was a young ruler, someone that could justly rule, the corruption did seep through. Chaos, and by extension Cath, sunk its teeth deep within Arthur's sight. The harshness of all the death and loss around him and his citizens, and even people that weren't even in Camelot, began to get to him. And as he sunk further and further into the stop process while he was most likely creating Camelot, he would then have that piece of him shatter, losing a bit of his humanity for stronger control and influence over chaos, in order to have his ideal eternal kingdom everlasting come true. Even if he has to take out his former friends and the clans that they belonged to, despite many of them not having anything to do with the Holy War or the loss of his people, causing a chaotic fracture in his mentality where one side wants to do what's right for his kingdom, but begins to treat his own citizens and personal knights like playthings, like chess pieces that can be disposable, and he could mess with however he wants. It shows with the fact that in order to give them their power, he has to make them willingly give up their humanity, whether that is just a part of chaos in order to gain more power from these abilities by giving up a piece of your humanity or all of your humanity and memories, is still beyond real understanding. It could be an actual condition, or it could be Arthur's sick, twisted, chaotic way of making the ultimate pawns, making them fight for the kingdom everlasting that he wanted, but for them to basically forget and not remember why they fight for this eternal kingdom themselves outside of their loyalty for Arthur, to the point where if their mentality of remembering who they cared for and forgot becomes too strong, their memories will be overridden and clouded and almost blacked out and turn into mindlessly chaotic monsters that just want to crush all in their wake and just follow Arthur's orders, being something that is no longer human and just chaos. As we saw this with the Four Perils in the end of the most recent arc in the manga. And I think that's really what's happening to Arthur, the fracture and stress of his psyche under the pressure of being a leader, seeing all this destruction, loss, and death from the Holy War and its aftermath to his citizens was a burden on his own sense of kindness, his morality, and sense of justice. And Cath being deep in his subconscious, since he is still chaos, probably without even fully intentioning it, if Cath's ego is not there anymore and is just part of chaos, led Arthur to become what he is today, a monster essentially that treats others like playthings in his goal for his quest to make Camelot the only place standing and erase everything else, taking away what made him who he is, all for the kingdom that he dreamed of. And now he's stuck in a perpetual state of contradicting what he wants to do and the morality behind it, by essentially viewing his own citizens and warriors and knights as pawns and things to be replaced, despite him doing all of this for them. Now, if it goes this way, like I speculated, that Arthur's stress and psyche have been drained over the years and fractured due to the stress and despair of everything that had happened because of the Holy War and all the death, and Cath's whole, energy / subconscious prodding after being absorbed by Arthur is what pushed him to these extremes, I would be happy, because if, like I said, if it was just Cath influencing him from within, without anything else that we've seen throughout the manga and past supplementary material, basically making this easier for him to turn to the dark side, again, I would say that is very, very lazy. But going the direction I mentioned and described here in the video, I really do think that could be the reason why Cath has been inched along and teased throughout the whole thing. That absorbing Cath is what made Arthur slowly lose himself to chaos and the stress and chaotic nature of the world wore away at who he truly was, leaving nothing but the King of Chaos, stuck on that singular goal for his everlasting kingdom, even if it means sacrificing or even removing those that he made this kingdom for, especially the ones that swore loyalty to him. But hey, that's just my thoughts. There could be more in the future. The Lady of the Lake just got introduced in the most recent chapter, me recording chapter 209, and we're just getting Lancelot's backstory with the whole disappearance thing. So who knows? That could add some extra insight into Arthur by the time this video comes out and it's already obsolete. But if you're seeing this video, chances are the video still sticks and this whole mentality still sticks. But I wonder if the Lady of the Lake will have some more insight or even influence over what happened to Arthur and why Lancelot has all this power. And it could lead into the mentality of Arthur and perhaps more information on Cath Palug, since again, he was literally introduced in the series, something inconsequential, and just boom, twist reveal, he's a villain at the end of the manga. But that's really all I have to say. I'm rambling at this point. What do you guys think of this video? What do you think is going on with Cath influencing Arthur potentially from his subconscious, and all the teases of Cath with every instance of chaos or Arthur's introductions? Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel and what you think will happen next. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Helps, shows you guys enjoy what I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. I'm going to try my best to make more discussion videos like this in the future going forward, as I miss doing them, so look forward to that. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.